Nothing in the world like the treasure. Look what it says in Acts 19, verse 1. In the 3rd month, the children of Israel were gone forth out of the land of Egypt. The same day came they into the wilderness of Sinai. For they were departed from Rephidim, and were come to the desert of Sinai, and had pitched in the wilderness. And there Israel camped before the mountain. And Moses went up unto God, and the Lord called unto him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shalt thou say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, Ye have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you on eagle's wings, and brought you unto myself. Now therefore, if ye will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. If you will, turn to Numbers chapter 14. Numbers chapter 14. Kind of a little background on our Exodus narrative tonight. In Exodus chapter 17, shortly out of the Egyptian bondage, the children of Israel began to murmur against Moses and Israel and God. And they wound up in a place called Rephidim, and they were griping because they didn't have any water. The Lord gave Moses instructions to go to the rock and strike the rock. The water flew out of that rock, fed literally 600,000 men that had just left, not including children and women. Some scholars agree that it could have easily been up to 5-6 million people that was in that first one. We don't know. We'll know when we get to heaven. There at that place, God labeled that rock and that scene in Rephidim with 2 names. One of them was Meribah, meaning bitter or bitterness. The other one was Massah, meaning contention. And even though God blessed them and fed them with water, they did so murmuring. Folks, no one likes a murmurer, a complainer. Have you ever blessed someone just to have someone else say, well, you could have done better? You ever got a gift for Christmas and you open it up and you look at mom and dad and said, what gift? Was this bad? Truth be told, I'd have got a few lumps of coal on Christmas if they'd been honest with me. But they actually gave me gifts to make me think I did something right through the year. What if God gave us what we deserved? And one that happened, what some of you don't seem to understand about the 10 Commandments, is where and when in history it happened. It happened only 50 days after the Exodus. There in Mount Sinai, God called the children of Israel nearby, and He called Moses up to the mount within 50 days after leaving Egypt. The 10 Commandments that we still have and hold dear to this day were given. And from that time to Numbers chapter 14, nothing but a history of being rebellious against God and against the commands of God. And finally in Numbers chapter 14, God says to Moses in verse 11, And the Lord said unto Moses, How long will this people provoke me? And how long will it be ere they believe me for all the signs which I have showed among them? I will smite them with the pestilence and disinherit them, and will make of thee a greater nation and mightier than they. And Moses said unto the Lord, Then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up this people into might from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of this land, for they have heard that thou, Lord, art among this people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, that thy cloud standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by daytime in a pillar of a cloud and in a pillar of fire by night. Now if thou shalt kill all this people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, Because the Lord was not able to bring this people into the land which He sware unto them, therefore He hath slain them in the wilderness. And now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying, The Lord is longsuffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquity of this people according unto the greatness of thy mercy. And as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt even unto now, the Lord said, I have pardoned them according to thy word. But as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the glory of the Lord. Because all those men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice, surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it, but my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit within him, and hath followed me fully, him will I bring into the land whereinto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now, what an interesting proposition this was for Moses. Now, I'm going to ask you, what if God came to you and said, I'll wipe out your whole family, and I'll start a brand new family with you? Let's go one step further. We know how America is headed. We see the wickedness on every television program. We see it in so many books, even those books that are considered religious books. We hear it on a Christian, quote-unquote, radio. Wickedness seems to abound in the country of America anymore. Our girls no longer have the morals they were raised with many years ago. Our men are no longer men that are truly strong men to lead families anymore. So what if God came to you and said, because of you and your righteousness, I'm willing to wipe out the entire nation of America, and I'll start over, and you will be the forefather, the sole forefather for our new country that I will develop in you. Some of you are thinking, that'd be a pretty interesting proposition. You mean, God, you would honor me this way? You would wipe out all my family and my friends and all my enemies and those people that I've come in contact with and all the ones that have murmured against you, wipe them all out? And God says, yes, Moses, that's the deal I want to give you. And Moses didn't fall for it. Moses didn't rise in his pride and say, oh, Lord, give it to me as piously as he could have. But he said, no, Lord, if you do this thing, the people in Egypt will hear that you are not the God you promised to be, to bring them into the land of promise. Oh, God, don't let your name be tarnished this way. Please don't do this. What would the world think of you if you were not willing to accomplish what you'd set out to accomplish? And God says, I'll have a compromise with you. I'm going to bring in Caleb to the promised land, Moses, but the rest of those that saw my acts, those above a certain age, I will later clarify, from 20 years old and upwards, every one of them died in that wandering years there in the wilderness. And one by one, family members had to see other family members die because of disobedience. And one by one, having known what Moses had said, they had to wonder, if my time is next, my time is next. Can you imagine the last one left in your family above a certain age, knowing that soon you were going to die? Because God had already marked you for death. They come to Moses and say, Moses, kind of reminds you of those people trying to get the ark after it was built that had been laughing at Noah all those years. Oh, let me in, Noah. I feel the rain. I see the rain. The flood is rising. Let me in. And Moses says, there's nothing I can do for you. I can't allow you to go into the promised land because God, just like he told Noah, he sealed that door. No one could get in or out. No doubt Noah had a burden for those people. He'd been preaching for over 100 years to those people. But there was nothing he could do because God drew a line in the sand. Eventually, he's going to draw a line in the sand for every one of us. He may be putting up with some of your rebellion at this point. He may be allowing you to sin at this point. But there's coming a line in your sand that you're going to cross. And the moment you cross it, you can count on it. Your days are done. And you're going to die in disobedience when God wants to bless your life. God wants you to be a peculiar treasure, just like he told the Israelites way back then. But I've often thought of how stupid stupid some of these things are today. Like case in point, not too long ago, I read about a lock of hair that someone could trace back to Elvis Presley. And I cannot remember the total that it was sold for. Why would anyone want to buy someone's hair? And that's a serious question for me. You put it in a drain, in a tub, and it's nasty. Sister Donna, next time you cut my hair, I want you to keep all the clippings, because one of these days it still ain't going to be worth a plug nickel. People wanted to buy Elvis Presley's lock of his hair. We lost our minds. And if you look at some of the things that have sold because someone has touched it, or someone has used it, or someone has promoted it, it is the borderline ridiculous. A lock of hair. And God must be looking down and saying, boy, you pretty stupid. I blessed you with all of that money. You want to buy Elvis's hair. You're a dumb. God's looking down at the children of Israel saying, fellas, at Meribah I'm giving you a promise. I'm going to provide this water for you. But if you don't follow me, I'm going to put a curse upon you that you'll never forget. And in our life, I want you to think about three things. Number one, the best available treasure you can be is an obedient treasure. What if we came to church and it wasn't about finances anymore? It was about faith. What if we came to church expecting God to do a miracle instead of just grunting through yet another service? Some of you look like you've eaten castor oil this week. I know you're weary. I know you're tired. But it is time to worship God tonight. And the privilege that we have as a church to collectively come together is a privilege a lot of churches are vacating anymore. And many churches could care less to preach the Bible on a Sunday night. Oh, you got to preach hard Sunday morning, but you're going to lighten up Sunday night. And by Wednesday, you just tell everybody how great they are by the time you leave. So they keep coming back in this vicious cycle of hard, soft, and lighter. Hard, soft, lighter. It's ridiculous. I believe we ought to have 3 square meals when we come to God's house. I believe we ought to feast on God's Word every day. I believe we ought to pray to Him every day. You want to know why? Because there's a need that arises every single day. Sufficient to the day thereof is evil thereof. Amen? You're going to have problems come tomorrow, ones you didn't know about today. God hasn't taken a vacation on you. Why in the world have you taken a vacation on Him? God loves you. The children of Israel were given a promise. If you'll just honor me, I'll bless you. Well, we know the history of Israel. They weren't obedient. All you have to do is start reading through the Exodus, and you realize it didn't take very long. 50 days out of bondage, 430 years in bondage, and they were in bondage because of their rebellion. They spent 430 years in Egypt in bondage because of that rebellion. Now 50 days removed, and guess what? They're in rebellion again. And if you were to follow the true American, we're in the same exact boat. We have enjoyed the luxuries of former generations. We have enjoyed the freedoms that none of us in this room have rarely secured. We walk by graves, drive by graveyards, but there are many heroes out there that gave us the freedoms that we have to just drive around this place. And we fail to recognize it. What is your tombstone going to say? Here lays a valiant man, or here lays a coward. Here lays someone that murmured every chance they got. Here lays someone that was a complainer. Here's someone who said they trusted God, but their life did not literally depict that they trusted God. Has your life become Meribah? Has it become Massa? Is your life about bitterness? God wants you to know He wants you to be a treasure. There's a second thing about a treasure. Turn to Psalm 46. I want you to know it. Treasures never become valuable until they're found. It is true, one man's junk is another man's treasure. Some of you take that far too literally. I've known Christian people that will literally stop along the side of the road at someone else's trash can and look for value. Now let that sink in for a second. If somebody's stolen away something, now I realize there's always exceptions to the case, but the only way I'm going to stop and look through your trash is if there's a $20 bill that's hanging out in the wind and blowing saying, come get me, something like that. There ain't no way I'm going to stop and rummage through your trash. And God doesn't expect us to go to the trash of the world to find blessings either. He wants us to come to God's house and honor Him and praise Him. God will rain down the blessings when He sees fit. The second thing about this best treasure is one that's responsive. Look what it says in Psalm 46, verse 10. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. The other day, Sister Lorraine shared something with me that happened at Home Depot. Man walks in, not getting a lot of service. She's standing behind the counter. She sees this guy, an older gentleman, looking for something, and no one's jumping at Home Depot to help. I don't know if you've ever been there, but there's no one flocking to help you at Home Depot. She finally went from around the counter and went, oh, this sir, may I help you? I need to know something about some weed eaters. She goes, I don't know nothing about weed eaters, but I can read. So she marched him down over to the weed eater aisle and she starts reading the cards. She don't know nothing about weed eaters, admittedly, but she read on the card, well, this would seem to be the one that would help you. He was so appreciative that he reached into his pocket and gave her a coin. It's a pure silver coin, worth about $40. She goes, sir, I can't take this. He goes, oh, yes, you can. Because you're going to help. I said, what'd you do? She goes, tell you. Amen. It's a blessing. Just for helping. What if you become the help for someone else to see Christ? You have a treasure within you, which is the gospel of Christ. If you've been saved, you have the most valuable thing the world could ever find. But yet, it stays hidden. And everybody says, oh, it's so valuable. But you're not willing to let anybody appraise that value. Only once you expose that value can truly people say, wow, that is an awesome thing to possess. But the Lord says, be still. Be still and know that I am God. You ever thought about what treasure does? Nothing. Usually lays there in the dirt. Somebody buried it. Doesn't do anything. Just sits there. Rots. Or starts getting wet around the edges. Still sitting there. Then the treasure hunter comes by and he's digging, or she's digging. Lo and behold, finds your treasure. They dig it up and they say, man, this could be valuable. Start to clean it off a little bit. Oh, I think I found something here. Then if you know anything about treasures, you go to a magazine. Because you got to be sure what you've got in hand. Now, all of us have heard about eBay, right? Or Amazon. Nowadays, you can find anything on Amazon. And I mean, almost anything. But not many of us know much about Sotheby's or Christie's in New York or Edinburgh over in Scotland. These places of elevation that are auction houses that you and I do not frequent. Amen? Because in Edinburgh in 1926, they had a bottle of whiskey that sold for $1.1 million. For one bottle of whiskey. If it cost $1 million and it actually was good whiskey, which is kind of a misnomer, I guess you'd have to lick the cork on the outside and get a buzz. There'd have to be some good whiskey. Or you could find a 1962 Ferrari that sold for $48.4 million. A car that you can run into a wall. And David's over going, yeah, I like cars. But he's not going to go to these auctions because only the upper class that has deep pockets are invited to those kind of auctions. But when the valuer touches that car, happened to be Mr. Ferrari himself, by the way, that car became precious. But that's not even treasure. Because God the Father is the greatest estimator of all time. And of all the things that He could have crafted in your life, He chose it to be you. He put your nose right where it is. He put your ears the size and shape that they are. He put fingerprints all over you and toe prints and tongue prints and oris differences, and everybody's different. God thought so much of you that He looked at and said, all that I've made, it is good. And then Eve and Adam came onto the scene. Actually, Adam and Eve. And the message was clear. I give you it all but one tree. And Adam looked at that tree. What he should have did is build a fence around that tree. He should have invented barbed wire. And he should have hedged it up about so no one could ever see the tree. But he didn't. Eve and him walked by that tree day after day after day, noticing the beauty of the fruit that hung on that tree. Then one day the serpent come by there at the right time and says, Eve, I got something for you. Did not the Lord say? Eve goes, we can eat of anything, just not that tree. Because if we eat of that tree, we shall surely die. The devil said, no, you won't die. She was deceived to take that fruit, and it has been our nemesis ever since. But I've often thought this week when we were the sloths of VBS, age 13 to 16, we were the sloths. And I started looking around the table of all those children. Let me rephrase, young men and young women. And I saw in them great value. And I said, if the world gets a hold of these young people, they're going downhill. And they're going to be yet another statistic on someone's stat sheet. But what if God got a hold of them? What kind of people can we have just in that sloth department? And one by one, I thought about them as I went to bed. I was thinking, oh man, the dangers that this one's lurking around the corner because of their situation at home, or what's going on maybe in the school, or those things that they shared with me through the week. And I thought to myself, what if one of them, just one of that group, got serious about serving Christ? How valuable could it be? Last week, Sabrina and I were flipping the channels late at night, and we flipped on a new programming. It had Carla Faye Tucker on there. Not an ugly lady by any stretch. She's a quite attractive girl early in her life. But what really attracted me to the series was this thought, this phrase. As we were flipping, it said, at age 9, her mother caught her rolling her first marijuana joint. I thought to myself, surely Mom will correct her. You know what Carla Faye Tucker's mother did with her when she caught her? She said, give me that. If you're going to smoke this, you need to know how to learn to roll it right. And showed her how to roll that joint just right. And thus started her drug addiction. At age 9. Her mother herself was a prostitute. That they were already from a broken home, and she began to bring man after man after man into the house. Carla Faye began to develop, and at age 14, her mother taught her the arts of being a prostitute. At age 14. So there, right under Mom and Daddy's, or right under Mama's nose, she brought in men after men for Carla. Taught her how to dress provocatively and how to flaunt her features that were growing into a beautiful young woman. She became a hardened drug addict and eventually turned into a biker chick, running in bike clubs all over the north side of Houston. And one night she met up with a man. They were so high on PCP, had been drinking so many shots, had been up for more than a day or two at a time. They needed money. Went into a couple's room and with a pickaxe. Didn't just kill them, but took joy in the process of axe picking them to death. Unafraid of the law at that time, she had become so hardened that she began to brag to all of her friends that would listen to what she did. To the point that one of her friends went to the authorities and said, "I think I know who killed that couple." Her name was Carla Faye Tucker. She was in such a rage that they couldn't even get her boyfriend to pull her off because she was being turned on so desperately by the pickaxe making its imprints into the body. He didn't want any part of it. He tried to get away from it, but she wouldn't have it. 38 times she hit one victim. She thought it was over. There in the corner of the room, huddled in a corner in the dark, she saw motion. And it was his date for the night. Some woman, some innocent bystander woman that he picked up in a bar that night. Is how they painted her. And the report says with a smile on her face and with a sadistic laugh, she began all over again until she couldn't do it anymore, leaving that pickaxe lodged in her chest when she left. This friend that came to the police department saying that it was my friend that killed that couple, the police convinced her that they're a liar. Went back to Carla Faye, began to ask her questions so they could get it all on wiretap. She boasted about it, laughed about it. It was very sadistic. She goes, "I'd do it all over again." It was a blast. Soon she's arrested. You may know the story. She went to her first Bible study in prison. There was a women's group that had come to visit all the women prisoners. There on the table was stacked a bunch of King James Version Bibles. She didn't know that each one of the girls were getting one that day. She was such a thief and sorry no good that she actually stole one before she was told she could have one. One of the women that had been going to one of these meetings, she had seen such a difference on the yard, and so she began to ask her, "Is that stuff real?" She goes, "Oh, Carla, it's real." So for the first time in her life, in her 20s, she cracked open a Bible. Never had seen one except it closed. Had never seen the inside of a Bible. And she's waiting sentencing for the death row. Prisoners began to report that they could hear her weeping as the Bible began to make its impact on her heart. Those that were closest to her, in fact, one lady was with her 9 years while she was on death row, a Christian lady, that mentored her, said that there was never a woman in her life she'd ever seen that had ever truly conformed, or reformed, I should say. She goes, in the prison house, there's a lot of jailhouse religion. And a lot of folks want to be Christians when they're behind jail. But not her. She began to mentor all over these other women and personally began to lead the other ones to the Lord that were on death row. Many of those sentences got suspended. Many of those sentences, some really miraculous events took place, take them off death row and put them into another sentence. And Carl became a prayer warrior for them. Pat Robertson got involved way back then. Many interviews were given. She even married behind 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 glass, never once making contact with her husband. He said, God instructed me to marry her. His family did not understand it. George W. Bush was our governor during that time, and when he was given the opportunity to give her a stay of execution, at the last hour, he says, I have reviewed the issues. I believe that she has become a born-again Christian. And at that moment, he said, I too am a born-again Christian, but it does not make the crime go away. So she became the first female executed in Texas since the Civil War. There on February 3rd, 1998, I believe it was, they didn't have to fight her to the death chamber. She walked to the death chamber, willingly laid down to receive her lethal dose that would kill her. They said it was a very silent room, as not one person, even the victim's brother, was so convinced of her reformation that he begged the governor to give her a stay. And he was the first one to break in tears when he knew they were injecting her with those drugs. He stated this, that she had a smile on her face, was looking toward heaven, leaned up and says, I'm going home. And what's tragic about that whole story is no one knew who she could have been when she was young. As a 9-year-old girl caught with marijuana, a mom, a worthy mom, would have said, what do you think you're doing? And chastised her for it. But from a whole lifestyle of drugs and prostitution and alcoholism, it led her to the unthinkable in her early 20s. We think, oh, she got an unfair deal. But the persons that she killed that night, those two we know are not saved. But just to show you the mercy of God's treasure, He can take anybody and take them from the ground and from the recesses of the gutter. And if they're willing to be wiped off, Jesus Christ can save that individual, but they've got to trust Christ in the process. She didn't go from just getting saved to being the strong witness that she was right at the time of execution. It lasted many, many years of growing, and she stated, it's been a very difficult ride, but one I deserve. She goes, my crimes are unbearable for me to think about. She goes, but I serve a Jesus who has forgiven me. Sometimes you hear these testimonies and you wonder, oh, this isn't legit. They're saying it for cinematography purposes, or they're saying it for the TV, or they're saying it just to get a rise from people, or just to get empathy. Well, I believe we'll see her in heaven one day. You may be thinking, it's not fair. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 13. But we are bound to give thanks always to God for you, brethren, beloved of the Lord, because God hath from the beginning chosen you to salvation through sanctification of the Spirit and belief of the truth, whereunto He called you by our gospel to the obtaining of the glory of our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, brethren, stand fast and hold the traditions which ye have been taught, whether by word or our epistle. Now our Lord Jesus Christ Himself and God, even our Father, which He hath loved us and hath given us everlasting consolation and good hope through grace, comfort your hearts and establish you in every word and word. What if she had felt the touch of the Master's hand before age 9? One man simply said, you'd have never heard about it. But we would have, because in heaven, God knows His treasure. The day you get saved, God writes your name down in a book that can never, ever, ever lose lose its page. You're written on the page of His heart. God knows exactly what you're thinking at all times. He knows exactly who you are at all times. He's never confused about who you are. He knows the hairs on your head. He knows everything you're thinking. And He knows whether or not you truly believe what you say you believe. And there's coming a day when God's going to say, "Rise up, my treasure. I want everyone in this world to know once and for all what I see as treasure. Not what man buries in the ground, but only what God raises to new life. That's the treasure that I'm interested in." What if? What if we could just be treasured one another? There's so many what ifs in life. I wish I could go back in my marriage and do some what ifs and do them over. Because I know most of you men have never made mistakes in your marriage, but I have. I would love to go back and just apologize before I get married and say, "Sabrina, before we get married, I'm going to be stupid. And I want you to go ahead and start pardoning me now, because I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm not going to say enough of the right thing sometimes. And you're going to misunderstand, or I'm going to misunderstand. And we're going to be at odds with each other. And you still won't be able to put a finger on why we're at odds with each other. We're going to walk in the room. There's going to be anxiety. You can cut the tension with a knife, and we don't know why. You ever had a facial expression you thought you knew what the other was thinking? You mad at me? No, I'm not mad. Well, you look mad. It looks like it was intended for me. I'm not even thinking about you. You're looking at me. You used to think about me. And she's too polite to say, "Well, you're too stupid to think about it anymore. I got other things to worry about, not you. You're not even in my mind. I'm looking at you. I may not even talking to you, but I don't need you to say nothing." You know, you women can be. I'm just bouncing off of you. All right. And most men are like, "Okay, I don't understand. I don't understand." Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1 says, "When the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them, and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter shalt thou not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. But thus shall you deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars, and break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not send his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of the bondman, from the hand of Pharaoh king of Egypt. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God, the faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. At these auctions and every one of those expensive places, the most ridiculous that I have ever seen or studied about is called the dog. Have you ever seen those little blow-up long balloons that these guys twist into dog shapes? Or they look like a little weenie dog. Well, one artiste in New York decided to make a 9-foot-tall, stainless steel, polished orange dog that looks looks like one of those blown up balloons. And you'll never guess how much he sold it for. $58.4 million. Now, had I made that piece of art, it would have brought a nickel. But it just so happened that the man who touched it and made it was the most excitable artiste of his day. And I thought to myself, what in the world could you use a 9-foot orange polished stainless steel dog for? Did you want to put wheels on it and ride it around behind your car? I don't have a 9-foot spare bedroom to put it in. My house couldn't hold it. It's too tall. But can you imagine the tall piece that thing would be? At least in a little nutcracker, you have something to talk about. Notice the craftsmanship. See the detail of the face, and notice the soldier's uniform. You have something you can talk about. You walk up to this dog and you're like, it's a dog that shines. And you want how much for it? And with the straight face, someone said $58.4 million. And with a man or a woman not too smart between the earlobes, said, I got that. And I got to have it. And so they sent a wire transfer for $58.4 million. Now you know that the descendants of the moron who bought it, when they die, are not going to look to put it in their house. They're going to be looking to get rid of that stupid thing because it doesn't go with nothing. Oh no, it was made by so-and-so. It is valuable. No, it's not. The Bible says all of it's going to be melted away. The only thing that will be worth taking to heaven is us. And not because of our worth, but because of His worth. The children of Israel didn't get it. And to this very day, they don't get it. They're still waiting for the Messiah to come, not recognizing that Jesus has already come and gone. And they're still holding out. Let the Messiah come. Well, folks, He's here and gone. The next time He comes, He's not coming as a baby. He's not coming as a hidden treasure in the womb of Mary. He's coming as King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And here we are, still looking for a treasure. Oh, if only I could grasp it. Well, He left it in the volumes written of Him. And it's found on the pages of this book. Go back to Exodus 19, we'll be done. Hold your spot, go back to one chapter, to chapter 18. Because in chapter 17, all this issue's happening. All the problems with the children of Israel, they started complaining already in chapter 18. Jethro. And I ain't talking about Jethro Bodine. I'm talking about Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, showed up. And he saw all that happened. And when Moses told him all that God had done for the children of Israel, the Bible teaches that they worshiped God for the deliverance. In other words, they said, man, we praise Jehovah God for all that He's done, bringing you out of the hand of the bondage of Egypt. But then something was happening. See, Jethro had been holding on to Zipporah, Moses' wife, all this time, his 2 kids. And it was time to give them back. You know, I heard grandparents don't mind people coming, but you can't stay. You come for a look and get on out of here. We got a life to live, amen? They love to spoil them grandkids for a day or two, but they got to go. Amen? So he brings them back. And look at chapter 18, verse 1. When Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, and that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt, then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, and her 2 sons, of which the name of the one was Gershom, for he said, I have been an alien in a strange land. The name of the other was Eliezer, for the God of my father said He was mine help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife and Moses into the wilderness, where he encamped at the Mount of God. He said unto Moses, I, thy father-in-law Jethro, am come unto thee, and thy wife and her 2 sons with her. And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, and did obeisance, and kissed him. And they asked each other of their welfare, and they came into the tent. And Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done unto Pharaoh and to the Egyptians for Israel's sake, and all the travail that had come upon them by the way, and how the Lord delivered them. And Jethro rejoiced for all the goodness which the Lord had done to Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who hath delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, and out of the hand of Pharaoh, who hath delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all gods. For in the thing wherein thou dealt proudly, he was above them. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took a burnt offering and sacrifices for God. And Aaron came and all the others of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law before God. And it came to pass on the morrow that Moses sat to judge the people. And the people stood by Moses from the morning unto the evening. And when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did to the people, he said, What is this thing that thou doest to the people? Why sittest thou thyself alone, and all the people stand by thee from morning unto even? And Moses said unto his father-in-law, Because the people come unto me to inquire of God. When they have a matter, they come unto me, and I judge between one and another, and I do make them know the statutes of God and his laws. And Moses' father-in-law said unto him, The thing that thou doest is not good. Thou wilt surely wear away, both thou and this people that is with thee. For this thing is too heavy for thee. Thou art not able to perform it thyself alone. Well, keep this in mind, folks. This is still only a couple months since they left Egypt. His schedule was ridiculous. From morning to evening, Moses sat in judgment of all the people. Look at verse 19. Hearken now to my voice. I will give thee counsel, and God shall be with thee. But be thou for the people to Godward, that thou mayest bring the causes unto God, and thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and shalt show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work that they must do. Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And let them judge the people at all seasons. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring unto thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. If thou shalt do this thing, and God command thee so, then thou shalt be able to endure, and all this people shall also go to their place in peace. So Moses hearkened to the voice of his father-in-law, and did all that he had said. And Moses chose able men out of all of Israel, and made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50s, and rulers of 10s. And they judged the people at all seasons. The hard cases they brought unto Moses, but every small matter they judged themselves. And Moses let his father-in-law depart, and went his way into his own land. Let me ask you a question. What do you do when you hear good advice? What do you do when God's called you to a ministry? Is it yours to bear? Never has been. God said, I've never called you to be by yourself. I called you to distribute. You have to help make treasure in all the folks that you lead. But it's time for them to start recognizing some of the treasure themselves. It's time for them to bear the brunt sometime. And folks, I'm here to tell you there's no pastor worth his salt that can do it all. VBS would have never happened had it not been for Rebecca and Mary Jane, Tim and Tammy. I know there were many others that helped, but those four were the criteria as to why we had VBS this year. And I'm going to give you a testimony that as long as I'm your pastor, I will never head up VBS. If there's not others that want VBS to be successful, there is no way to add VBS into the schedule. You have to say no. Thank God we not only had those four mentioned, but everybody else jumped on board, and there were many that came up and cut out and colored. But yet we'll have some show up the next week or so and say, hey, when is VBS this year? I was so tempted this year to leave all the decorations up for about 3 weeks. Because that's about the cycle of some of our folk. Well, we come in about every third week just to bless y'all. Just so y'all can see us. We're here. You church can go on now. You've seen us. We have many in our church that are absolutely clueless of the burden that each other carries. But it hasn't always been the case. Most people don't realize the treasure that God's house is anymore. They go to God's house and they get browbeaten to death and they say, well, I'm being preached to for that ought to last me for another month, that message. Because I've heard all the rest of them. Why go back and heard them all? I know all the stories. I know it was Noah that led the children of Israel. Moses was on the ark. I know all that. I know them good, Everybody knows the plight of Ahab, because, Ahab was a good man and Job was a sorry guy. Yeah, I got it all clear. Yeah. Some of you are thinking, wait a minute, what is he? If you ain't picked up on it yet, figure it out. Go home, read your Bibles. Ahab was not a good man. Job was a righteous man. Yes, this means yes. Ahab, no. Job, yes. But out of all of them that you read in Scriptures, they all point to one. His name is Jesus. That's the relationship you need to take out of this place tonight. Don't go home and say, oh, Brother Paul, I don't get that message, because I quite honestly don't care. I want you to get in the book. Now I want you to realize the treasure that you are to God. Other people may not like you. That's not important. Other people may look at you and say, oh, you're lacking in this area. I don't care. God says I can be special. And start working on it. That means in your private time, you're going to have to start asking for big stuff. Ask little, get little. Ask big, get big. You mean it's about getting stuff? It's never about getting stuff. It's about growing in the Lord. When you reach a certain level, you grow whether you want to or not. And you never truly stop growing. You'll grow in some dimension in areas maybe you don't want to grow. But you're still growing. Amen? When's the last time you went in your closet and tried to put on a pair of pants? Wait a minute. These things didn't used to be so tight. Huh? And how many of you have blamed the dryer for shrinking your shirts? Amen. Amen? Yep, we're growing. If you're at a Grace Baptist church, you're always growing. So you got to be disciplined. Try to stay within the budget and stay within the boundaries of the jeans, if you will. I have heard people say, I'll just go buy bigger jeans. Well, I just wish I had your budget again. Are you a treasure? Or are you worthless? When Jesus Christ was buried, He was raised to show the world how valuable He truly is. I'm begging you this week, show someone how valuable God is in your life. Father, thank you. Thank you for a night of just opening your Word. Lord, forgive us for the times that we get so down in life that maybe it's because of sickness or because of weariness, or maybe there's other issues emotionally that are taking place. Or churches today a lot of times resemble more like a hospital than they do a house of worship. And unfortunately, there needs to be a section in most Baptist churches for the criminally insane. Most of them stand behind the pulpit. Father, forgive any word that comes across this holy desk that's not holy. Forgive every heart that approaches your house with less than reverence. Father, I want to thank you for the children this week. Thank you for sending some to us that we would have never met had it not been for VBS. And thank you for the good seeds that were planted by some of the good folk here at Grace Baptist Church. Father, none of that could happen if people were not supporting the work. Lord, the greatest testimony of all is beyond these three being saved is that now these decorations are going on to another church that will eventually wind up in Mexico. The testimony is they will be used until they're completely worn out. Father, we ask you in advance to go beyond the decorations and prepare the minds of those that will be hearing the lessons. Lord, also be there in the Philippines where this program is going with Brother Joey Baluka and his wife. And I pray for thousands and thousands of souls to be saved through what begun here at Grace Baptist Church. Lord, we may never see them in this life. But if they get saved because of things done in this place, one day we'll meet them. And all that will matter then is that we were found faithful to the cause. Father, give us all that spiritual strength and energy that we need to keep going on. Father, this week, though they all go back to work, I pray, God, you'd help them find moments of rest. Lord, bless Grace Baptist Church and its endeavors. Lord, you know the mission issues that we're facing right now. We've got several of them that have medical needs. I pray, God, you provide in advance. Lord, we have others that are doubting their call. We have others yet that need to get to the field. We have others that are established we're praying about. Lord, I just ask you to give us wisdom. In Jesus' name we pray.